Buddy, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Prine, with the Indiana State Police, Public Information Officer for the Indianapolis District. The Roadshow is brought to you each and every week by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, you can visit them at www.indianasfinest.com. A big thanks to MS Communication, Miss Terry Stacy, Kyle Knedzfich, and Matt Hiblin for all they do to get us on the radio each and every week on every corner of the state of Indiana through Network Indiana. We do appreciate all our affiliates that carry our show each and every week, and we're honored to have them on board. My guest today from Motorola Solutions is Sean Erickson, and we're going to talk about communication, emergency responder communication, some of the challenges that we face when it comes to that, and some of the technology advances that we've had over the years. So, Sean, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
So how does it all start? How long have you been with Motorola?
So I've been with Motorola. I'm entering my 11th year. It is going to be my 4th year working with the state of Indiana. So before I became the account manager for Indiana State Police, I actually did everything subscriber related. So the radios that you have on your hips, that was us, and the radios that are inside the cars. It was all me. So I would go around 13 states in the Midwest, all the provinces in Canada, talk to different public safety agencies, state, local, provincial, and we would talk about radio, all the new features, functions, how it works with the statewide systems, county systems, things like that. You know, then I moved in last year to becoming the account manager for Indiana State Police. I found the police museum the last time I was out here, and I'll probably go drop some more money there. Sorry to my boss. I'm gonna go drop some more money there later on. But you know, really, when it comes to how the communications are, you know, I've seen a lot in my 11 years I've been there at Motorola. You know, started when I joined, we still did cell phones. We still were a conjoined company. Right after I started is when we split. So the cell phones were split off, and then I was on the public safety side. My dad was a 40-year Motorolan. So coming out of college, it was either becoming a fireman, going Motorola, or going both. My brother went the firefighter route. I went the Motorola route, looking to become a volunteer fireman. So hopefully I'm in a room full of law enforcement folks. But I will say I did ride with Indiana State Police a few weeks ago, and it was a blast. I rode with Trooper Kennedy. So that was a lot of fun, learned a lot. But you know, really, that's where the passion came from, right? That's where I always knew I wanted to be a part of public safety. If I wasn't putting on a uniform, I wanted to be a part of it.
There aren't very many tools that we have that are as important as our radio and our communication, because when we need help or when somebody else needs help, that is vital. So, you know, I go back to when I started, we had low band radios with a whip antenna. One channel, or there was 4 channels, I guess. The old Eileen system was our, if you cross state lines, you could talk to other states, but we've really come a long way. I mean, there's so many channels on my radio now, I don't even know half of what they do. So talk about the evolution that you've seen in 11 years of just communications within agencies, and then also talking with other agencies.
So really the way that, you know, especially the system portion, you know, in this state, we've got over 180 radio sites. Being able to jump between different zones, different channels, you know, different functionalities and features. Where I've seen it grow is really from the radio perspective as well, and also just recent things that we've done in Motorola. You know, when I started, it was radio, and now we've moved into, so I've been a part of the evolution into body-worn video, the SI500. We've now moved into, we just acquired WatchGuard for body-worn and in-car video. One of the most, I think one of the more interesting pieces that we've just done is in the fixed video space and a lot of crime scene investigation. So we acquired a company called Vigilant. So what they do, they actually are able to do license plate recognition. So having LPR cameras, seeing those hits. So if you've got, you know, all the highways and byways that go through Indiana, you know, having that tool and being able to have those hits come back to the troopers on the street, that's huge. Being able to now take shell casings, be able to process it at the scene, and you've got hits back within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, right? So cutting down a lot of that time, a lot of the caseload, managing your evidence. So we've got, you know, a command central platform. We watch that grow from managing your evidence to being able to share it. So multiple cases, right? I follow you guys on Facebook, so I see all the different releases and, you know, how you have to go through different processes. Now being able to share that evidence across the state without putting something on a DVD and mailing it out, and without having to do a lot of that paper trail. Now everything is secured, protected, and being able to be shared digitally. You know, really then going into cameras, right? Looking at, Project B-Link, for example, in the city of Indianapolis, right? We are a part of that, looking at the way the camera technology works. So now I've got somebody who's sitting in a room. I'm not watching, 50 different screens, right? I could be, right? Yeah. But maybe if you don't have the personnel to do that, now I've got one screen that'll have notifications when different parameters are hit on a camera.
Wow.
Now that can pop up, right?
Wow.
So I've seen it move where radio is always the core, always will be the core. What I've got in front of me here, this is our brand new Apex Next. This is an LTE and P25, what they call it, radio. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but watching radio progress, but really in the software space and seeing the different solutions grow. We just got back from our sales kickoff this past week, and I got to tell you, it was something I've never been more excited with all the different things that we can do for agencies, big, medium, small, everywhere in between. So it's exciting. This is why I can tell you 100%. This is why I've been a Motorola for 11 years and never done something else.
It's undoubtedly that effective communication and the technology does and is going to continue to save lives. I mean, that instant need. And it's funny because I talked to some retired troopers who talk about communication was almost non-existent. I mean, there was a day where Indiana State troopers had to stop at a phone booth and call into the district every 15 or 20 minutes to get any information. And so the evolution is incredible. Just in the 17 years that I've been a trooper, my first portable radio was a brick. Yeah. But in order for it to work, I had to turn a repeater on in my car that was in my trunk, or my radio was useless. So really the technology is cool, and it is continues to advance. And also our ability to communicate with other agencies. Agreed. For so long, every agency just had their own radio system, and that's the way it is. Now, there are some that still use other types of radios, but now with the technology, those systems can still communicate with one another.
Agreed. And that's a big thing too, something called Critical Connect that's out now. That's a way to be able to join systems together without a lot of the cumbersome steps that you would have to do in the past, right? Leveraging vehicular repeaters, things like that. There's also something that we're looking to do where your radios have the ability, if they're Wi-Fi enabled radios, so Wi-Fi enabled Motorola Apex radios, if I go inside of a building like this or go inside of Lucas Oil Stadium, I'm able to drop the system and pick up over Wi-Fi, but still maintain all my channels.
So you don't need the towers anymore.
Well, you still need towers. Towers are always there, but instead of having like in-building communication, like repeaters, things like that, now you've got another way to do it, leveraging Wi-Fi. So again, emerging technologies, things like that.
Yeah, because even with technology now, there are still buildings that we can go in where our radios won't work.
Exactly. Exactly. So, one of the things on this I think is really interesting. This was built for law enforcement. This is what they call the Apex Next. This was just released at IACP this year in Chicago. Big thing here is I've got that ability. If I roam off of my system, I can pick it up through LTE coverage. But being able to have a Android operating platform to be able to put applications on here, load in different things. At the core, it's always a radio, but there's going to be feature capabilities in here that allow it to grow with it. One of the biggest ones, it allows you, see that little button right there? Yeah. I can press that. Your Alexa's in your house. This is something called Vicky. So what that allows you to do is, if I'm in a pursuit, I can hit the button on my speaker microphone that goes with this radio, change to Pursuit 5, and it will change it over automatically. Wow. Or if you're out running a license plate, one of the biggest safety concerns, right? You go look at a plate, you turn around and go walk back to your vehicle, or you don't want to have, the person who's sitting there listening, is turning your back on the car, right? Now I can sit there and look at the plate. Hey, Vicky, run license plate. You run the license plate. It ties into all the databases, and it'll come back with hits there.
Wow, that is incredible technology, and it only gets better. I'm sure some of our retired troopers that are listening are kind of scratching their heads right now. They even have a hard time with the concept of having a computer in your car. 17 years ago, I was the first state police class that actually got a computer in the academy. So think about how far that's come. So when you're on scene, for instance, yesterday I did a drill with the Indiana National Guard, a large-scale exercise, and our biggest hurdle was communication. I mean, that's almost always the biggest hurdle when you have multiple agencies on scene. So is there plans in place, or does it exist and we just kind of refuse to use it, where everybody could just push a button on the radio and we're all linked?
So there's definitely technology out there that can accomplish that. The biggest thing with the statewide system, and the capabilities that it has, you know, there are a lot of those mutual aid channels, a lot of the event channels, different things. I also work with IPSC as well. And for those listening, that's the statewide radio organization. You know, for them, they've got those channels that you know, in planning those large scale events or how you do your mutual aids, there are ways to do that. If for some reason, you know, they're only in an area where maybe they use LTE devices, right? So your cell phone or whatever it would be, there's a way to tie that together to where even if you're out of range here and you've only got your personal phone, you're able to leverage something called Wave and be able to talk back to those channels as well. So those can be linked together. So in those events, right, because there's always differences, you know, when you've got National Guard or some of the Fed agencies, right, they do things a little bit differently, right? They either have the same channels programmed in, or there's other ways to bridge those systems together as well.
And in an emergency, sometimes what our dispatch centers can do is they can patch radios, but it's still, although it works, it's not ideal because you're getting delays and there's just different things. So
that's right.
I think we're moving toward a world where it's simplified, and I know we've come a long way. But emergency communication is always so important.
Yeah, and this is something too where, you know, again, when they told me I was getting Indiana State Police, I was extremely honored to do that because, you know, I said, hey, if I want to do this, I want to work with the best of the best and the big dogs. And I'm very honored to be able to work with Indiana State Police.
We appreciate that very much.
And thank you guys for what you do. It's awesome to see, you know, them running down the road and know, hey, I got a Motorola in there, and you know, seeing our stuff in action. And yeah, it's been very exciting just to see. And you know, again, going back to that ride along I've done, you know, that was one to really see everything in motion. You know, responding to a call, just how everything plays in, and just to see how, you know, you as troopers utilize the technology. It gave me a better understanding of how I can have conversations, right? And just being able to see, you know what, this is something that would be applicable, you know, and this is how I think it could, you know, benefit the job, right?
Do we have the technology now in portable radios like this where there's GPS built in, where if I hit my emergency button, it would give my coordinates exactly?
Yes, sir. Yep. So right now, if you hit your emergency button, you know, the capability is there to send out your GPS location. With the Next, it actually sends out over LTE. So you can have a tighter cadence. When I say cadence, you know, typically it's every minute, 2 minutes, you know, up to some do 5 to 6 minutes, right? I know Mishawaka in that area, they do a tighter cadence using our technology through the radio. But with this now, you know, every 30 seconds they could come up. There's even something where, you know, depending on the system release, you were able to do what they call location on push to talk. So every time a trooper keys up their radio, it's going to show their location on the map.
That's kind of intriguing to me. I think sometimes when chaos ensues and we get so focused on the chase or the emergency or whatever it may be, we lose track of a pinpointed, you know, I might say, hey, I'm 2 or 3 alleys west of this street, south of this street, but I think that technology would be ideal. Now, would the technology allow other, you know, you've got this big screen on there. Would I be able to see other officers' location on my radio? So
the goal is really to try to tie in as many of our applications as possible to this. So, you know, seeing that as a potential, I could see that, right? There's a lot of different things that we're doing to continually roll this out. And the nice thing is with having, you know, a software base to it, just like the software operating on your phone, right? You're able to get those updates, push them out. We did an update on this yesterday. I literally didn't have to touch the radio, didn't have to hook it up to anything. I had my team down in our Plantation, Florida office. They send the update out. It took the whole process was about 2 minutes.
Wow.
From them hitting go, getting in here, notifies me like it does your phone. I accept it and I roll it over.
Wow.
So
yeah, our guest here, Sean Erickson from Motorola Solution, talking technology of communication, the advancement that we've seen. It's only going to get better as the years come on, and we do appreciate the partnership. You know, what's new? What else is coming? I know you just released this radio. What is your vision? We have about 45 seconds or so here.
All right, I'll do the 45-second vision. I mean, really where I see it is everything becoming converged, right? From the dispatch center out to the field, being able to tie in multiple pieces of technology and really arming dispatchers as well as field users with the right information at the right time. The command center staff at a large scale event, a fire captain at a, you know, get Fire Mike over there doing his thing, right? You know, watching them man the scene, being able to get real-time data, streaming data back to the dispatch center. I mean, really being able to tie in from the minute you get a license plate hit to seeing that person on a camera, being able to have that incident captured from, you know, the officer's camera back down to your traditional communications, right? And just seeing where that grows. I think the ecosystem is growing, and I'm very excited to be part of it.
Very good. Well, we are out of time. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Roadshow. All right. Great.